If you want to learn whittling, or maybe you want to do whittling with a group of cubs or scouts, and you haven't got the resources, you don't want to use knives, I've got an alternative that's quite cheap, friendly, and gets similar results. The alternative is a bar of soap and a plant label. I'll show you how to do it. So we're going to take a bar of soap, a plant label, and turn it into something like this. So there's two things we need to do first. We need to make a point on our plant label, and I just used a pair of scissors just to make this point on one end. And you need to take your bar of soap and cut it in half. You could use a saw, you could use a knife. Make sure you're using a block underneath when you cut it. This one I've started to use a saw on. You can see it's a little bit older because it's cracked down there, but that shouldn't stop us in whittling into the soap. The next thing we need is a pattern. This is one I've created, and I will put a link to this so you can download it and have a go. For this particular soap, I am using an Imperial Leather brand. There are other soaps available, but I do suggest you use a harder soap rather than a softer soap. And you'll see it's roughly about the same size on the pattern, which is great. So I'm going to take my implement, my plant label, roughly position this. Now you might want to flatten that back off, make it sit a bit better. I'll just use this other piece so it's easier and flat. And what we're going to do is just mark across roughly where the different features of the face are. So here we've got the nose, and we'll draw that out. Here we've got the beard, and again we'll just draw that out onto the soap. And here we've got the start of the forehead, and we'll just mark that over. So these marks should help you now to be able to carve the soap. You'll notice that there's lots of bits coming off. Really important that we just watch where they go. So I've got this paper to protect, because otherwise you'll have soap in your carpet, or better if you do this outside. If you're doing this with a group of young people, put something down on the floor, or get them doing it on tables. Or even better, if you're doing this at a camp, then using the soap before dinner, all you need to do afterwards is apply water to their hands because they've already lathered in soap. So one of the things you have to remember here is you're taking away. So have a look at the prominent features in this image here. So we can see that the nose comes out, the ridge of the forehead, and the beard sticks out as well. So we're going to basically start taking away. We have to remember there's a bit of hair here as well, whichever way we want to show that. We have to start taking away, so which is why I've done around the nose. So as you can see here, in this one, I've just basically carved out around the nose, and I've kept the features of the beard, looking around the forehead and up. So rather than watch me spend hours carving this out, and it can take half an hour, depending on how good you are and how many times you want to try. And don't worry about making a mistake. This is all about learning, and this is just about taking out around either side because it's hard to add back. And this is a great basis for learning how to whittle before you perhaps go onto wood with using a penknife or something. So I'm going to have a go at this, come back in a minute, and you'll be able to see. Okay, so I've started carving out around the nose now. Just going to even those up, and you can see just by gently scraping away, the soap comes out. I'm just bringing out where the nose is, and these will be the cheeks coming into the eyes here. I can now take the ridge of that nose down a little bit into the forehead, cutting out. So you can see how it's starting to shape. Do the base of the nose about here. And now I'm just going to start taking that down. So I've started to get the nose shape in here, which will eventually look like this. But you can see I've got to start taking away some of the other bits. One of the things you could do, if you wanted before you started, to maybe quicken up the carving process with young people, is when you do the marks, I'll just mark these out, is to then actually use a knife to just cut in a little bit and make these grooves. So top of the nose, bottom of the nose, like that. And that might help them with the carving. You might want to just put a little nick in at the top there, and then where the mouth, the beard is, which would be about there. So you could pre-mark them if you wanted to make it easier. But for this, I'm still going to carve on with my trusty plan label. So next what I'm doing is just scraping out the top of the forehead here, which is this bit here and here. So I know this bit's going to be the hair, and I'll perhaps take that ridge off the top. Like that, and just down the bottom here. So already you can start to see it's starting to take shape. Eyes are always the difficult one for people. You could just do them with two little slits like this, and just start shaping that nose back and rounding it off. Right, so what I've started to do now is just take down where the beard is, so I can start protruding that nose. And it might take a while to do this, and that's not a problem. It's all about taking your time, ensuring that it's right for you, and you don't have to follow the pattern. It's what comes out of it. I did this with my scout group the other week. I'll show you some results afterwards of what theirs came out like. All of them completely different, all unique, all individual. Okay, now I've got that. Carve out the larger beard area. The mouth, I'm just going to push it in to make a little mouth shape. And now I'm just going to carve out this area here. See, I've just been digging out this area. And don't worry about those lines, because they all form part of the beard. And then we can make this round the sides. Under the nose. Right, now I'm going to go to the eyebrows area at the top. And I just need to dig out a little bit more on top of the forehead. And continue that. I might make a shape around here, because that's where I just want to thin out those cheeks. But as you can see, it's starting to take shape. This is where your wrinkles in your forehead are going to be, and this is where your hair is going to be at the top. We'll start to shape that like this. Right, just for some kind of features, I've carved out around the side. I'm just going to put these lines in around the edges here, just to define the face a little bit more. And I'm just going to put these little wrinkles in at the top. I'll just make this a very quickish one. You can spend lots of time doing these till you feel right with it. As I say, each one's individual. And it's a great way to start to learn to carve before you actually get onto wood. You can learn some tool control. You can learn, that not everyone comes out completely the same. These are very different, similar, but very different. But you can see, a little bit more work on here. I'll get this one very similar to this. So as I said, I'll link this in the comments, and you just need a plant label, nice sharp edge. You could, if you wanted to, just put a little edge on here to help with the scraping, or it's actually good enough because it has a little bit of a sharpness feel just there on that edge there. And that's just great for just going in, using the flat on here, and just to move across like that. And if you've got a nice flat bit at the back, you can always write your name. And then you always know which ones are which when you put them all together. So, soap carving, I hope that's been useful. I'll now show you some of the soap carvings that I did with our scout group. As you can see, here are the soap carvings from my scout group the other week. There's some fantastic designs. Everybody followed the same pattern, but it's fantastic to see the individuality of these designs come out and all their different creative processes. Fantastic work. Hopefully that's been useful for you and inspired you to have a go, maybe with some wood next time. Hope you enjoyed that.